Okay, hello everybody. So wonderful to be with you all. I am so delighted to bring to you this very first episode or installation of something that Zoe and myself have been tuning into and talking about for a while now. And yeah, we're just really delighted to bring it to the world. So this is our synthesis of Mayan astrology and Vedic astrology. So it's very new. I don't even think we have a name yet, Zoe, do we?
Not really.
You all can help us with that. I think we said cosmic insights felt really good, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to introduce Zoe in a moment, and we're just going to keep this really light and conversational and casual and just introduce these two beautiful astrological systems that we work with. And we hope that with your comments and responses and engagement and interaction, this space can develop and grow and become what it needs to in order to be useful and of benefit to the community. So I'm Natasha Anand. I am an integrative trauma, IFS, and energy informed practitioner. I'm based in Manchester and I practice Vedic astrology, or Jyotish as it's called. Zoe, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, so I have been working with the Mayan calendar as a tool for consciousness and expansion for about the last six years, maybe nearly 7 years. I spent quite a lot of time in Mexico and actually visiting the sacred sites. So yeah, it's just been my pleasure and honor really to keep on learning from this tool, keep on gaining more and more information the more you work with it. So yeah, I'm excited to see what comes from this conversation today.
So this is just a complete brand new weaving co-creation between the two of us, which I'm really excited about too. And I just want to say something about some stuff that's coming up for me, memories of um, learning about Mayan astrology from one of our teachers, Padma Victoria Sinclair, many, many moons ago. And then also looking to you all of these years for your continual dedication and devotion to the calendar, and was actually part of what inspired me to go off and learn Vedic astrology, because I fell in love with the Mayan astrology. I was at first studying the Jose Arguelles calendar and then shifted on to the traditional Mayan calendar. So there's a bit of a distinction there. And so, yeah, I want to say thank you for inspiring me to also go deeper into Vedic astrology.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful that you have something also connected to your lineage and yeah, so beautiful. I'm really excited to hear what you have to share today.
So we'll get straight into it because we'll open space and then we'll get straight into it, because today is well, not today, this time, shall we say, is very, very auspicious in terms of the Mayan calendar and initiation of a new cycle. And so I'd really love to hear from you. I'd love to hear you speak of the calendar and the elders, the perspective of the elders, and just anything that you feel called to share. But before we do that, we'll just both, and all of us, just take a moment to open the space and give gratitude to and honor deeply all of the elders and the ancestors that have tended to these cosmological systems, and these traditions have kept the integrity of these teachings and these cosmologies and the rituals and practices around them for so long, holding the vision that we would be here today as part of the expression of these incredible teachings, and giving blessings, taking blessings and giving gratitude to all of the archetypes and the spirits of these systems, the spirits of the land, the nature beings, the celestial bodies, all our guides and teachers, all the parts in our system and our higher selves and plant animal spirits. Really deep gratitude to all of the beings that guide and assist us and protect us and keep sharing with us their teachings and their visions and their protections. May this weaving in itself be an offering into the grid for the highest and greatest good of all beings. And so the space is open. Wonderful, Zoe. So please take it away.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, so just honoring, like, particularly, you know, the indigenous Maya who have kept this knowledge and information alive for thousands of years, to the Quiche Maya who keep the count of days in the highlands of Guatemala. So this is the calendar that comes from the Quiche Maya, because there are different names for each of the glyphs and nawals from different tribes. And of course, there's the new dream spell calendar. But this one particularly is rooted in the highlands of Guatemala. So I'm just sharing my screen so that we can see the calendar, what it looks like. And so today we are here. So you can see this portal day. So this is
bear with me one moment, Zoe. I can't see the screen. Did you share it?
Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay. Okay.
Okay, great.
Let's go for it.
You can still see me as well.
Yeah, and just to let those of you, I guess if you're watching the recording, you can't. I'm gonna need to adjust the screen, so I'm gonna do that so everybody can see us and then see that. Okay, great, perfect.
Okay, so I was just saying this is where we are here. So you can just see the calendar, you can see what it looks like, and you can kind of get a feel for how we move. So we actually move downwards. So this 20-day cycle goes through each archetype within the journey of the calendar. And within that, we have cycles of 13 days. So each of these glyphs are also called nawals, and they each hold a particular energy resonance. And the energy today is this energy of Imosh, which is the primordial mother energy. So it's kind of like the dark, unmanifested void, or the dark sea, also connected to the collective unconscious. So this is kind of the energy before ego consciousness has been birthed. And as we move through this cycle, the whole calendar, we move from this energy of the primordial darkness through to what is the divine human here, kind of individuated consciousness, aware of our inner divinity. And living as that kind of awakened consciousness, aware of who we are. So I would say that the calendar is a tool for consciousness. It's different from, astrologies, where we track the movements of the planets and the stars and, our day-to-day lives. I mean, where the origins of the calendar come from the research that I've done, the Itzamaya, they've said that the ancestors that the calendar came from their ancestors in the stars. And there's stories of the calendar that's come through with the Maya who came out of caves, after the Great Flood. So it speaks to me that it came maybe from Atlantis and has been carried forward. So I feel that, as it comes from the Maya and it is held deeply in their tradition, there's this question of, how can the calendar be used by us in our culture and within our lives? And what I've found is that, we can work with the energies of the calendar, and it puts us more in touch with the ancestral dimension, with the codes of consciousness. But we also have to then do the work to unravel the kind of programming of our Western psyche and understand the stories that we are carrying, and how we can decondition and center ourselves back into consciousness. So this is a 9-month cycle. We begin today. So always kind of what you experience in each cycle, of course, is always different and always very individual, very personal, but also connected to the transpersonal. So it's a great gauge to kind of stay aligned, to the movements in consciousness, to destiny, essentially. Yeah. I'd love to know if you have any questions.
Yes. So I'm just receiving this. As I'm receiving this, I'm reflecting on the journey that I've taken in the past with the calendar. And at a time when I was much more aligned to it than I am now. So this is amazing because I'm really, really keen to get back into practice with Mayan astrology. And so I remember this time when I was, and I was aware of the 13-day cycle and what the next cycle was, and the kind of the energy of that cycle, and tuning into the energy of those 13 days and then moving to the next 13 days. And I'm just noticing here on your on the diagram. So it's like, I guess the .1 is the first day, and then
so we're going to move down,
and then moves down to
the last day.
And so that you've just followed there is one 13-day cycle. So it's 13 days in a row, and then and am I right in remembering that that those 13 days is the energy of the archetype that was at the start of those 13-day cycles. Is that right?
Exactly. So the next 13 days is going to have the theme, the energy of Imash.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I definitely have a question. I want to come back to you. I want to know more about that energy and what that means for us at this time. So there's 13 days, and then the next 13 days will start, and then there'll be a whole different set of energy. Well, a whole different theme, as you say, for the next 13 days.
Yeah.
And within that, each of the 13 days has its own particular frequency, right?
Yeah.
So I guess, like, how do you synthesize that? Like, how is it like a numerology thing? Because it's like 1 to 13. And is it like a particular type of Mayan numerology? I'm really curious to know about what's the difference between the archetypes that we follow and then the number of which day it is.
Okay, so each number is kind of like, it's how the energy of that day will express. So, I mean, without going through all of them, this number 1, it represents like a unity, but there isn't a lot of energy to it. But as we move through each number has a different tone. So they're called tones.
Tones, yeah.
So it's the way that that particular day will be expressed. If what aspect of a cycle of creation. So say the number 5 is about putting in the work and effort to create in the physical realm. I mean, I can go through each one.
If you want to give a brief overview of each one, yeah, go for it. Just to give us a sense of like how those 13 days falls, because I can imagine a lot of people are going to look at this and be like, oh my God, this is a brilliant thing for me to just follow and keep me anchored in every day. Because then
That's it.
yeah,
the anchor.
great.
Yeah, so one, like unity and totality, but it's not a lot of energy. So it's quite a calm day, and you'll feel that. You'll feel that in a big way. Like I know that on a 13 day, there's not much point in me trying to do anything like, even this call on a 13 day, I know it would be a lot of energy flowing through. So number 2 represents duality. So from 1, it's split to create 2. The 3 is kind of the Trinity, but also can be about how sometimes things can obstruct. There's that simplicity, but which can also represent indecision. But a 3 can be an obstruction, or the Trinity, or it's something that we have to, create this understanding through. Number 4 represents a stability. It's like 4 pillars which uphold a structure. Number 5, as I say, is the work that we put in as humans to create something, to manifest something in the physical realm. Number 6 is called complex stability. So it represents kind of the union of masculine and feminine and how they can flow in stability. 7 represents like a death and an ending, because you kind of go from 1 to 7 if you imagine a pyramid. So you go 1 up to 7. So it's kind of like a cycle of what they say is like the earthly realm. Then as you move to 8, you're going to go back down the pyramid to 13, but you've kind of moved into the spirit realm. It represents completion and endings. Number 8 is a new harmonic frequency. So often ceremonies are held on 8 days. It's a harmonious number. Number 9 also represents completion of cycles. It's a feminine number. 10 is about coming together as a community, different people and aspects which come together to share information and work together. 11 can be quite a disruptive number. Disruptive things can happen on an 11th day. But it's kind of that disruption that creates a bit of chaos in order to, bring things into clarity. 12 represents the kind of all of the wisdom that we may have gathered throughout our experiences all coming together. And 13 represents the spirit world. So it's the day of the ancestors and a strong connection to spirit. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes. And I was just remembering as you were going through all of that coming back to me of the numerology, and remembering tapping into, as you were saying, the finer expressions of that archetype. So it's like what I'm remembering is this, like tuning into or embodying this archetype or journeying with this archetype that's on the first day of that 13-day process, and holding that, then tuning into these different expressions every day and seeing how that is that's expressing and manifesting itself in the world. Because one thing I remember we talked about in some of the prep discussions is this this thing of some astrological systems being used as quite predictive, and certainly the Vedic astrology does have that aspect, and there are a lot of people that use it for that, because there's a lot of desire for that in the world. It's not how I have been taught by my teacher, for it to be used as a predictive tool primarily. But I'm just curious towards that. This seems like less predictive, more let's see what the day expresses, you know, and here's a reference point of working with it. Is what how do you receive that?
Yeah, so this calendar originally was a ceremonial calendar, so it would help the Maya to plan the days which have a conducive energy to
Okay.
what wanted to be created on that day.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, you know, as a tool for our own internal expansion, it's extremely intuitive, and you know, we resonate with these days. We tune into the energy and we find a resonance, and we will be receiving the information, you know, of that energy from that day. And the way that that will weave within our own lives, within our relationships, you know, synchronicities. Um, yeah, it will be intuitive, and it will be an inner journey. So yeah, I guess the focus is more in terms of a tool of consciousness, our inner experience as much as our outer experience. Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and share with us the archetypal energy at the start of the calendar. What are we working with? And then I'd love to share something about the Vedic astrology, just to give, maybe zoom out a little bit, give a little bit of a celestial context to that.
Yeah. So I mean, if anyone's familiar with Jungian psychology, it's like the collective unconscious, right? So it's an energy where we might find ourselves kind of entangled, or we might find ourselves more swayed or swept up with what might be going on, you know, around us, or within our own unconscious, within the unconscious of the culture. But I mean, personally, for me, it's like I found myself just yesterday picking up this book that's about the origins of consciousness, and it's, you know, it's so aligned with this new energy, and this has just kind of happened.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and also, you know, it's like primordial mother, so it's this base need, you know, for nurturing, connection, how we relate with our own unconscious, safety in our bodies, our root chakra, you know. Yeah, all of these kind of themes would be coming up just now. And you know, if we were to tune in and to work with those things, yeah, it would be really conducive to the rest of the cycle, you know. So yeah, it's a foundational energy to begin the work. And yeah, I'm interested to see what the Vedic astrology says as well, and yeah, if there's a correlation there.
So I really also want to come back to you to share, you know, once I've shared a little bit, I'd also love to know, like, your sense of, because it's a 9-month calendar, 9 month, not month, but should we call it 9 months, 9 moon cycle calendar?
It's 260 days.
60 days. So
So
it's
it's the same as, like, it's like a gestation period, you know, of a human child. So around 9 months, 260 days, depending on how you count months.
And this is, it feels like this is why this calendar in particular, there are various ones. There's the next one, I think, is a 13 moons, one that's kind of aligned to 13 moon cycles. Is that right? And so yeah, this one, it just feels like more aligned to the human experience with a 9-month or 9 moon cycle. And so the start and the initiation of the calendar is not the same on every day, because it's 9 months and then it begins again. So the initiation of the cycle begins at a different time, a different day, basically, all the time. So I want to come back to you and find out more about what it is that this initiation, what's the energy of this, with the particular flavor of this initiation at this time now, like of where we're at this point now. So I really come back to you with that. But what we were really astounded by when we were discussing this, because we wanted to do this, and then, I was like, I'm going away. If we could do this before I go, it'd be amazing. And then it just, as it works out, it's the initiation of the Mayan calendar, and the sun has just a week ago entered Leo in the Vedic astrology, which is very central to the Vedic astrological system, because the sun is our central star. And so we like to track the sun and what the sun is doing, the transit of the sun, the different alignments that the sun has to the traditional zodiac constellations and the other 27 nakshatras that we have in the Vedic astrology. These are basically 27 other constellations that kind of, let's say, sit behind the zodiac and give us another finer dimension from which to see where the moon and the sun and other planets are also aligning to those 27 constellations and what that means, and what more information that brings into us. And yeah, so amazing. So we have this overlap of sun moving into Leo, Mayan calendar starting. And for me, the sun moving into Leo, I'm just gonna move this across here so I can see my notes. The sun moving into Leo is really, it's, one of these central and kind of pinnacle moments of our astrological calendar, because the sun is our life-giving power. It's our central star. Our planet, as in all of the other solar system, all of the other planets revolve around the sun. And so it really does have a special place on the chart. And when our sun moves into Leo, it's actually moving into its home. So in both Western and Vedic astrology, each of the planets, and we call the sun and the moon a planet, even though it's technically not, but we just forget about that for now. When we tune into these planets, we also tune into their homes. So most planets have one or two homes, and this is where their energies are at home and the most powerful, the most potent. And so Leo, of course, is the sun's home. And so this is an opportunity for us to harness and draw in so that we can cultivate this energy. And why we want to really harness this in is because this is when the sun is at its most potent. And it's such an interesting time. Root, my husband, is follows the cycle of the sun, the cycles of the sun, and the energetics of the sun. And he's very tuned into when there are coronal mass ejections and the electromagnetic emanations of the sun. And he has been telling me for a while now that we're in the peak of this 11-year cycle of the sun. And many of you will know we've had like the aurora borealis across Europe and across the States this year. So we really are seeing the peak of this energy. And so it's even more auspicious because the sun is like super, super potent energy. So the sun is our self-leadership. It is just fundamentally, if I was going to distill and boil it down, it's the core essence of who we are and how we are embodying that, how we project that out, how we are shining that out into the world and being who we really truly are. So this is a time for us to be really at home with ourselves and to draw in this energy to help us cultivate our deepest sense of self. And it's powerful here. It's like super powerful here. And as the sun spends 30 days in each zodiac, it's going to be moving into Virgo after that, which is a much softer, feminine, reflective, and nurturing energy. So we can be like, for these 30 days and really harness and work with these energies. It's a lot of fire. It's a real masculine, beautiful energy. And then we can soften into reflection and the nurturing space of the Virgo feminine energy. And then when the sun moves into Libra, we can kind of come back into leadership again, come back into a more balanced expression of leadership. So we're kind of, and then we go into Scorpio, and then the sun goes into Scorpio, which is like this strong, powerful, taking no prisoners, feminine energy of Scorpio. So we're kind of at this point, like moving through these very distinct energies, which can really help us to cultivate our sense of self at this time. I'm curious to know your thoughts in a moment on that, how you're receiving that, and how that fits in with this energy of initiation that the Mayan calendar is bringing, and how these two energies might be working together. And we also have to understand the energy of the sun in relation to the other big planets, and in the solar system, and what's going on there. So I like to look at, personally, my style is to look at Rahu, Ketu, Jupiter, Saturn, and get a sense of like the big energies that have a huge influence on the solar system, on the planet. And that gives kind of, for me, gives like a context, because we're in those energies a lot longer. The transits are a lot longer. So those energies they're forming like a backdrop and a context that we move through often for a few years before we transit out of that energy. So for example, Saturn's in each zodiac for like 2.5 years. So right now, Saturn is in its home of Aquarius. And because Saturn is this big teacher planet, Saturn wants us to learn from our lessons and integrate our lessons and become the greatest teachers we'll ever know, and to take the treasure and gifts from our lessons, because Saturn is also at home in Aquarius for a while longer. It's providing this backdrop and really holding space for us on planet Earth, right? And let's face it, like we're in this space of learning a lot of lessons right now. I really feel like all of our stuff, all of the deepest, darkest parts of humanity and this planet are coming up for us to be seen. And this is so much also work of Saturn holding space for that. And then Rahu and Ketu, which are the north and south nodes of the moon, are kind of have this similar vibe, where part of their role is to, I feel in my journey with these planets, it's like they're part of like holding space for the planet because they're part of the moon, and they're also helping us to journey through our collective consciousness or collective karma. So Rahu is like the head and Ketu is like the body, so it's like the full being. And Rahu and Ketu at the moment are in Pisces and in Virgo respectively. And in essence, this is a deep, feminine, nourishing, watery, healing space for these planets to be in. And this is, can be a really beautiful space for us to let go of the burdens that we're holding as a collective and as individuals, so that we can continue on our path. So this is kind of the context that we're in, like nurturing feminine, emotional healing space, whilst we have Saturn, bringing in that comfortable energy of like, it's time, Earth, now to learn your lessons. And then for this month, or these next these 30 days, or really probably about 23 days, we have Sun in its home in Leo, which is like really driving home this energy of being in our pure core essence, and projecting that out into the world and being comfortable and embodied within that. So I'm curious, how are you receiving that?
Yeah, I mean, interesting, because I'll just share screen again. It's like the calendar has this DNA symbol within it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this whole 9 months is like an activation cycle, which I feel it brings us into alignment with the new consciousness that we want to bring in. We can align with something that is ancestral. We can align with something that is earth based, and we can really use it as a jumping board, to step into our destiny, into what we want to create. aligned with our higher selves, and you know, ego consciousness aligned with the divine. So yeah, I think it really allows us to, you know, receive that blueprint of what there is for us to connect to align with, to weave within, to follow those threads, to bring ourselves, you know, into all that you describe, you know, into a way that we can express ourselves fully, feel safe, feel nurtured, feel held, and connected. Yeah, that's what I was feeling. And you know, there's kind of so much information that comes through. It's kind of infinite, right? Like the more you open up to it, and the more these conversations happen, just more and more and more information comes through. So yeah, I feel like keeping track of the calendar and where we're at, you know, keeps us aligned. And within that, as we follow the energies that come through, the planets and the stars, you know, we have a really strong support, you know, to manifest and yeah, to live our destinies.
So one thing I'm going to do for next time is, because I can see that we're going to spend the most part of this cycle of this calendar, this Mayan calendar, while Saturn's still in Aquarius, but it will shift into Pisces during these 9 months. I think that's really interesting. I'm already like through this, which I didn't think of before, like starting to see.
Saturn shifts in.
Yeah, so Saturn will move out of its home of Aquarius and into Pisces. And so it'd be really interesting to look at when that's going to take place, when that is on the Mayan calendar, what energy that's going to bring in, and how that can help us transition, because that's going to feel we're going to feel that potentially very strongly. Like we're going to start to feel that now, like soon, you know, and then when we really transition into Pisces, it's going to be like, and so I'm starting to feel like the Mayan astrology is actually going to provide us with like a landing pad and a buffer to be able to journey through that transition. And it's the similar with Rahu and Ketu when they transition out as well. I need to look at what the dates are and where that's in this calendar. Again, we're going to feel that too, because the energy is just going to really shift around that time. So I'm really curious, maybe for us to start to, I think this is what's going to happen. I feel this is what's going to happen. We're going to start to like want to look at particular dates and energies and what might be coming up as we see the calendars overlap, which is exciting.
I think that'd be amazing. I feel like the kind of working through our, you know, our burdens and unraveling and like detangling the kind of constructs, you know, that are held in the Western psyche, and even through following the calendar that we follow, you know. So yeah, I feel like keeping track of Saturn and seeing where those burdens are going to come up, how we can do the work for the collective, you know, using these tools, I think would be really powerful. And
I love that. I love that. How we can do this work for the collective. I think that's really important. You know, these are obviously also tools, of course, goes without saying, for our own personal development. And both Zoe and myself are available for any of you that want to get in contact. So we'll have the links like on this video, but then also in the email where we share this. But yeah, that this is very much a tool for our own individual growth, but also for the collective. And for me, I just feel like this is it. This is the time for us to be, if we're not already, come together in community to harness our collective energies and direct those energies for the greater good of all, of the collective. And we're all so much coming into this awareness of how our consciousness is intrinsically connected, interconnected, and we are all creating this reality together. So it makes perfect sense. I love that you shared that. I think it's a perfect place for us to end. I would love for us to do some beautiful astrological rituals and ceremonies as well. So if you're watching this and you want to be a part of that, you like that idea, let us know. Or if anything else in this has touched you, please let us know. Leave your comments, send us an email. We're very new to this and we're hoping to just develop this more and more and have it be a really useful, magical tool for you all. Zoe, how can people contact you?
I do have an Instagram page. So it's Black Jaguar Diaries, which I am developing. But I suppose I just find it so interesting how this has come up and how, especially with the energy of Imash and like how the collective transpersonal elements of our psyches and our experience, that's kind of really what I want to share more about. So it helps me anytime anybody gets in touch with any questions or any shares. It just helps me to understand how I can serve, So Black Jaguar Diaries is my Instagram. And you can also send me an email as well. And I can pass that email on to Natasha. She can share with you all.
Yes, I will certainly do that. And you can contact me via email or Natasha Natasha_Anand, ANAND. That's my Instagram handle. But yes, email to natasha@yourearthclinic.com. I look forward to the next installation of this when we'll for sure have more time and can go deeper into some of these energies. I really hope that this has been a really great opening. For those of you, I realize I didn't really even explain what Vedic astrology was. I was just assuming everybody knows, but we're going to have a little description that we'll put, with this video, and we'll just go deeper and deeper. Hope you can join us on this journey and see you next time.
Thank you, Tash.
Thanks, Zoe.